Part 86. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 851. Yanxiangluo wanted to curse others, no, curse Tiandao, this was the rhythm that wanted her life. No matter how angry she was, she had no choice at this time. The lightning struck, and she could only bite the bullet and use her strongest spiritual power to resist. With a bang, lightning struck her. The strongest power she had brewed was shattered with a single blow. The power from the lightning strike instantly penetrated her body without leaking anywhere. The bone-piercing pain made Yanxiangluo almost unable to stand. However, the wind that almost blew her away before magically blew her away, making her want to fall down and stand unsteadily, swaying and trembling with fear. At this time, Yanxiangluo had only one color, which was pitch black from head to toe. The most embarrassing thing is that she has no clothes on her body and her hair is disheveled. If she could see her image at this time, she would definitely be frightened. He is simply worse than a ghost. However, the strange thing is that the clouds lying on her shoulders are still white, as if thunder from the sky has bypassed it. Yun Tuan, why are you okay? Yanxiangluo asked, enduring the pain. Yun Tuan was speechless. This is what the master has to go through. It has nothing to do with me. I can't move now and can't help the master. However, if the master dies, it has nothing to do with me. Yun Tuan was helpless. He stayed outside just to protect his master when his life was in danger. But when lightning struck just now, it wanted to jump on top of its master to help him block it, but it couldn't move at all. It just watched. The owner was struck by lightning. It understands that this is an experience for its master, and even if it is the master's contracted spirit beast, it cannot help. However, if the master fails to pass this level and dies, it, as a divine beast with a soul contract with the master, will have to be reincarnated. If that were the case, the work it had done with its owner in this life would have been in vain, and all the preparations made by the owner in the previous life would have been completely wasted. The price paid by the master's masters and brothers was all in vain. Yanxiangluo understood what Yun Tuan meant, that no one could help her, she could only get through it on her own. However, Yun Tuan has his eyes tightly closed now. There is nothing he can do about it. Although the current owner is the same as Heitan, he cannot see it. It is worried that Jizhong will strip him naked, beat his legs, and blind him when he returns. At this time, Yanxiangluo found that the painful feeling just now was gradually disappearing, and the parts of her body that were damaged by lightning were healing themselves. Not only were they healed, they seemed to be stronger. Yanxiangluo looked at the brewing thunder, her almond-shaped eyes flashed with determination. Every disaster experienced here was not in vain, but had a purpose. Along the way, she has experienced various experiences, whether it is combat effectiveness or experiences to improve various abilities, but she is the only one who has not experienced physical strength. This experience that hurts to the core of her bones allowed her to experience her physical strength. As long as you can survive it, even if you don't use spiritual power, the strength of a warrior alone is powerful enough. Understanding the effect of the power of lightning, Yanxiangluo became more confident. As long as it's not for her life, she can bear any pain. Come on, chop it down hard. What she doesn't know is that people will indeed die. As long as you can't survive it, you will really die. Another thunder struck down, more powerful than the previous one, but Yanxiangluo still used her spiritual power to resist. It's just that this time the blow was harder than the last time. Even though the strength of the body increased, the injury was more serious. But what Yanxiangluo lacked most was perseverance. Therefore, when she had partially recovered from her injuries, she had already stood up. She found that the sooner she stood up, the sooner her body would recover from the injuries, so that she could be struck by the next lightning strike. When the body is fully recovered, it can better catch the next thunder. However, a thunder is more powerful than a thunder. Although the physical strength is increasing, the consumption of spiritual energy is also very large. Even if Yanxiangluo can absorb spiritual energy while consuming it, the time interval between thunder attacks is very short, and it is difficult to make ends meet. Her current state, therefore, is increasingly less powerful and imbecile. She is like this. You can imagine what the situation is like for those who only output power. At this time, some people who could not bear it had already fallen from the sky. There was only one such situation, that is, the person was already dead. After Yanxiangluo caught the 8th thunder attack, she reached the limit of endurance. When she got up, the next thunder arrived. She wanted to curse God again. It really cost her life. How many more thunders are there? After the 9th lightning struck, Yanxiangluo lay on the ground and didn't get up for a long time. She thought her life was about to be decided here, but she realized that there was no lightning. She felt her body and recovered a little. She endured the severe pain and climbed up. After getting up, her body recovered faster. After a while, all the injuries she suffered were recovered. Yanxiangluo was pleasantly surprised to find that now her body seemed to have been cleaned from the inside out, with no flaws at all. Her internal organs were definitely in the healthiest state in her life. There is not even a single flaw in the whiteness of her skin. It is as smooth and white as a peeled egg. The hair of different lengths that was struck by lightning has now returned to its original length. Not only that, it is silky and feels better than satin. She glanced down at her perfect body and realized that she had never been wearing any clothes. She turned to look at the cloud on her shoulder and saw it lying on her shoulder with its eyes closed, not looking at her at all. It is quite discerning. Hurriedly taking out a dress and putting it on, before I could comb my hair, I felt the clouds under my feet softening again. She was startled and quickly took a step forward. A golden light flashed in front of her eyes, and a gold plate with a diameter of 2 meters appeared in front of her eyes. Thinking of 4 mantras, 9 turns in the sky, suddenly encountering thunder and wind, stepping onto a golden plate, and meeting the mortal world again. She has already experienced 9 turns in the sky, and also encountered thunder and wind. Now is it time to step into the golden plate? There wouldn't be any danger, but the softening clouds under her feet gave her no choice. She quickly stepped onto the golden plate without even having time to comb her hair. As soon as he stepped onto the golden plate, even the hairs on his body were on guard. After all, there were no rules on the way to the center. Crisis was everywhere and could come out to kill you at any time. But when Yanxiangluo stepped on the golden plate, she did not feel the power of the attack, but the golden plate started to rotate, not at a fast speed. It rotated slowly, and while rotating, it slowly moved forward. Yanxiangluo stood on Jinpan, steadying her body, not knowing where Jinpan was going to take her. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 852. The golden disc was always spinning forward at a constant speed. After a while, there was still no danger, and the speed of the golden disc's rotation did not speed up. But Yanxiangluo still did not neglect her vigilance. On the contrary, she was more worried about sudden accidents. At this time, a small negligence can be fatal. Yanxiangluo looked around. If she was unprepared and Jinpan accelerated even slightly, she would be thrown out in an instant. You don't need to think about the consequences of being thrown out. Hence, Yanxiangluo quietly tattooed a body-fixing mysterious pattern on herself, stabilizing herself on the golden plate. With this guarantee, Yanxiangluo let go of his consciousness to look around, but his consciousness seemed to be blocked by some kind of force and he was unable to see what was going on outside the golden plate. You Xiang fell clearly, and your consciousness was cut off. Obviously, he didn't want you to notice any danger in advance so that you could be prepared. Yanxiangluo's heart ached. She knew that time was limited, the golden plate would not keep spinning like this, and danger might appear at any time. Time passed little by little, and the golden disc seemed to continue to rotate and fly forward at a constant speed tirelessly. At this time, Xianxia wondered if there was some mechanism on the golden plate. If the mechanism was not broken, the golden plate would keep spinning and flying like this. She lowered her head and looked at the gold plate. There was nothing on the gold plate. It was extremely smooth, really like a big golden plate. She racked her brains but couldn't think of any mechanism on the golden plate. Not only did she think so, but many people standing on the golden plate thought so. At this moment, Junpan suddenly accelerated, doubling in speed. If Xianxia hadn't carved a body-fixing pattern on himself, he would have been thrown out in an instant. The golden plate suddenly accelerated, making Xianxia feel dizzy. After a few gasps, a dazzling white light flashed in front of her. Xianxia instinctively raised her hands to cover her eyes. The golden plate suddenly stopped, making her sway with the rotation of the golden plate. His body followed suit and turned suddenly before stopping. Xianxia put down her arm, resisting the discomfort of vomiting, and saw the golden plate suspended at the entrance of a hole. Xianxia didn't think anything else and immediately stepped into the cave entrance. Because she felt that the golden plate under her feet was softening, and if she slowed down a little, it would fall, and everything would be in vain. Sure enough, when she stepped onto the entrance of the cave, the golden plate disappeared. It was so suspenseful. Xianxia turned her head and looked at the clouds and mist behind her, with lingering fear. The time from jumping down from the top is actually less than an hour, but it is equivalent to walking on the verge of death. Xianxia patted her heart, glad that she had come through. Even though she knew that the chance of life was much higher than the chance of death when she jumped from the top, she still overcame her fear of death and her desire for life. Jumping down was equivalent to crossing a state of mind. At this moment, Xianxia felt that she had never felt relaxed enough from the inside out, from her consciousness to her body, as if she could fly without being in the air. No wonder everyone wants to enter the central place. Even if they don't reach the central place in the end, as long as they go back, the rewards are no longer what the outside world can give. Xianxia turned her head and looked into the cave entrance, wondering what else was waiting for her in front. It was pitch dark in the cave, and she couldn't see anything. She let go of her spiritual sense and felt it. The aura inside was very strong. She continued to use her spiritual sense to explore to see if there were multiple paths inside, and she needed to make a choice again. As a result, her consciousness followed the entrance of the cave and looked inside for a long distance, but there was no fork in the road. It looks like there is only one passage. Thinking of those 4 mantras, 9 turns in the sky, suddenly encountering thunder and wind, stepping onto a golden plate, and meeting the mortal world again. Xianxia raised her delicate eyebrows. She had already experienced 3 of these 4 sentences. The last sentence was about meeting the mortal world again. Could this road lead to a place where ordinary people live? Isn't this going to the center? Could it be that the center of the first place of experience is where mortals live? Even though she was doubtful, she had no choice at this time. Xianxia walked into the cave without hesitation. It was too dark in the cave. Although her cultivation strength was the lowest among those who entered the first training place, night vision was still no problem. After all, she envied herself for her powerful spiritual consciousness. While using her spiritual sense to check whether there was any danger ahead, she absorbed spiritual energy to replenish the previously consumed spiritual energy. The speed of her feet was not slow, it was the fastest she could walk in this situation. It didn't take much time. About a quarter of an hour later, we saw light in front of us. Xianxia knew that this road was coming to an end. She wondered if the end of the road was the so-called mortal world. Soon she came to the light. There was an arched door in the light, and Yan Xiangluo walked into the light without hesitation. After a moment of light, the scene in front of me changed. Yan Xiangluo found herself standing at an intersection. She quickly turned her head and looked behind her. Behind her was a road extending into the distance. There was no opening anywhere. She was standing at a crossroads, and every road led to the distance. Turning back to look in the direction she was facing when she came out, there was a village there. The smoke from the kitchen is curling up, and people are walking around the village from time to time. A group of children are playing by the stream outside the village. You can also hear the voices of adults calling the children to go home for dinner. There are still people working in the farmland not far away. Such a breath of fireworks is really like a mortal world. Yan Xiangluo looked further into the distance and could still see the scattered villages. Yan Xiangluo raised his head and glanced at the sky. The sun was in the sky and it should be noon. The villages in the distance were also filled with smoke, and it was obvious that every household was cooking lunch. The spiritual energy here is very strong, but the strange thing is that Yan Xiangluo did not sense that the people in the village have spiritual power. They are really just a group of mortals. She can still absorb spiritual energy to practice, but she cannot fly in the air. This place is so strange. Although it looks like a quiet and peaceful place where mortals live, it still feels inconsistent everywhere. Such a strong spiritual energy, but there is no cultivator. It seems very strange no matter how you look at it. Yan Xiangluo walked towards the village closest to her that she saw earlier. She always had to see someone asking where she was before she knew what was going on. If you want to enter the village, you have to pass by the creek outside the village. The children playing by the creek looked at her curiously when they saw someone coming. A brave little boy said to Yan Xiangluo, who walked up to them, "Are you a god?" He actually used honorific words for you. Yan Xiangluo laughed and said, "Why do you think I am a god?" The little boy said a little embarrassedly, "Because you look like the statue of the enshrined in our home." You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 853. Yan Xiangluo was stunned. She looked like the statue of the gods enshrined in their home. This is something she never expected. From what the little boy said, everyone in the village worships statues of gods, and they should be the same gods. I don't know which they worship, but I am actually lucky enough to have the image of this god. It doesn't mean they look alike. Yan Xiangluo smiled gently. But there is a pet like this on the shoulder of the statue. The little boy pointed at the cloud on Yan Xiangluo's shoulder. Yu Xiangluo was stunned. Is it such a coincidence? It would be understandable if it was just that she looked like a god. After all, she was a stunning beauty. Even her mortal enemy would not tell lies with her eyes closed. It's not surprising that beauties all have similarities. But the fact that there is a spiritual pet like a cloud on the shoulder of the statue is not something that can be explained by coincidence. Could it be related to his previous life? I'm from out of town and I'm lost. Can you tell me where I am? Yan Xiangluo said to the little boy with a smile before continuing the previous topic. The little boy's eyes lit up. We are here in Daowen realm, and our village is called Ruyi village. Are you really from outside Daowen realm? Yan Xiangluo was stunned for a moment. Daowen realm? Why does this name feel so familiar? Yes, I'm from outside, Yan Xiangluo responded. She knew very well that lying was useless. There were too many differences between her and the people here. Children could not understand it at first glance, but adults could tell at a glance that she was not from here. It was better to be calm from the beginning. Admit. Then you are a god, the little boy said with a very confident tone and an excited expression. Yan Xiangluo didn't know why the little boy was so sure. He used his spiritual consciousness to communicate with Yun Tuan. Yun Tuan, what's going on here? Can you tell me? Xuanhuan said, the master will know what is going on when he enters the village. The master can recover part of the memory of his previous life. Xianxia understood that this place was really related to her previous life. She looked at the little boy and asked, why do people from outside have to be gods? The little boy took the other children seriously and knelt down respectfully and kowtowed to Xianxia. Xianxia didn't even react, so he hurriedly moved away to let them get up and talk. How can you talk so well and kowtow to your head? The little boy and the others got up and said, the elders in the family told us that if someone comes from outside Daowen realm one day, it must be the return of the gods. Because only gods can enter and exit Daowen realm. Are you actually the they say you are? I understand immediately after thinking about it, there is no aura of monks here, they are all ordinary people who cannot practice. In the previous life, I should be very strong, and I have some magical powers, but I am not a godlike existence in their eyes. Nowadays, don't those with lower levels of cultivation also call those with cultivation levels above the divine level, lower gods and higher gods? Although the little boy's words were a bit bizarre, Xianxia understood that it was probably her previous life that had done something to them, but seeing how respectful they were to her, it was a good thing. Since Xuanhuan said that he could recover part of his memory by entering the village, there was no need to ask these children any more questions. Can you take me into the village? Xianxia asked. The little boy said respectfully, of course, Grandpa said that the Daowen world is a place for immortals, and there is no place where immortals cannot go. Is it her place? Xianxia thought about the little boy's words and felt a little unbelievable. Although Xuanhuan said that she could recover some of her past life memories by entering the village, she never thought that this would be her place. How strong were you in your previous life? Xianxia is very curious now. From the time she entered the first training place to now, when she thinks about it carefully, it seems that every place is tailor-made for her. But she knew very well that even if she or her master and brothers were powerful in her previous life, the first training place could not have been built by any of them. Because the first training place was left over from ancient times and was not built by any of them at all. Then it can only be said that it was myself in the previous life or the master and brothers who arranged everything here with their strength. Even so, the ability to arrange everything in the center of the training place is beyond what she can imagine now. The group of children no longer acted like they were having fun just now, and formed two groups respectfully, walking on both sides of Xianxia, one step behind her. Xianxia didn't say anything when she saw the actions of these children. This was their deep-rooted respect for the gods they worshipped, passed down from generation to generation. Whether she is the they worship or not, she is very touched by their respect. In today's world, it is difficult for anyone to have such a pious and respectful heart, but the reverence has been passed down from generation to generation for tens of thousands of years. Can you tell me why you are so respectful to the gods? Xuanxian was still some distance away from the village. At their speed, they still had to walk for a while, so they wanted to understand a little bit first. The little boy who had spoken to him before shook his head and said, we don't know much. We only know that our ancestors were saved by the gods. The Daowen world where we live was given by the gods. Because the gods gave us the Daowen world, we can be safe from generation to generation. We should be grateful for the joyful life. Xianxia understood clearly that Daowen world should be a small world-like existence. If it was really given to them in his previous life, then how many small worlds did he have in his previous life? After all, the two senior brothers had just returned her own small world to her. Did she have multiple small worlds in her previous life? To people in the world, having a person is a person who has great luck. So what kind of person was he in his previous life? Although Xianxia had some memories of her past life because of that time of being captured, they were only sporadic memories and it was impossible to pry into or even infer her past life. Xianxia was really excited when she thought that she would recover part of her memory soon. Xianxia did not continue to ask the little boy anything. She would naturally know what she wanted to know when she entered the village and recovered some of her memory. Even if it doesn't work, you can go into the village and ask the adults. Soon, they arrived at the entrance of the village. The little boy who was talking to him ran forward quickly, shouting as he ran, "Grandpa, the gods are here." The little boy's voice was very loud. Everyone nearby heard his shout, and someone came out immediately. And an old man with white hair and beard holding a stick came out of the room in the direction where the little boy ran. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 854. Small pillars, gods are for worship. You can't make fun of gods. It's disrespectful. Go to the ancestral hall and kneel down to confess to the gods, came the old man's old voice. The old man had just finished scolding the child when he saw Xianxia coming in a red dress. The old man was so excited that he threw away his crutches and knelt on the ground. He said in an excited voice, "Little old man, I bow down to the gods." Before Xianxia could react, people from each house came over and knelt on the ground. The villagers of Ruyi village worshipped the gods. The voices were different in pitch and pitch, but they were equally excited and pious. The movement of these people finally alerted the whole village, and people kept running out of every house. Someone shouted loudly from behind, "Come out, the gods are back." I worry that people who live far away cannot hear the sound and cannot come out to pay respects to the gods in time. Xianxia did not stop them from worshipping her, because she had already sensed the vigorous power of faith pouring into her consciousness. Xianxia knows very well that only those who truly believe in the power of faith can receive it. Since he has accepted it, it means that he is really the they admire in their hearts. Such a scene feels inexplicably familiar. Until the entire village came out, men, women, old and young, including bedridden people and newborn babies, were all carried out by their families. This situation made Xianxia feel very uneasy. Even if she had not recovered the memory of her previous life, just by the scene in front of her, she knew that she would not regret helping them. "Everyone, get up!" Xianxia raised her hand. "Thank you to the gods." There was another burst of sounds, and then the villagers in Ruyi village stood up and looked at Xianxia excitedly. They really didn't expect to see the return of the gods in their lifetime. What a blessing it was! The old man who was called Grandpa by the little boy earlier took a few steps forward with a cane. The brocade box that the deity placed in Ruyi village has been enshrined in the ancestral hall. Would the deity want to get it now? The old man asked respectfully. As soon as the old man finished speaking, Xianxia immediately knew in her mind that the brocade box contained part of her past life memories. "Go get it," Xianxia said. The old man immediately called a young man and told him to be careful to get the brocade box. The young man ran quickly to the ancestral hall, and soon he came back carefully holding a brocade box. The villagers in Ruyi village looked excitedly at the brocade box held in the hands of the young man. Because everyone in the Daowen world knows that this brocade box was originally placed in the ancestral hall by the gods. No one can move it without the permission of the gods. For such a long time, the brocade box has been in the ancestral hall and no one can take it away. Now the young people took out the brocade box, indicating that the woman in front of them was indeed the they worshipped. The young man walked up to the old man and handed the brocade box to the old man. The old man let go of his crutch, and the person next to him immediately caught his crutch. The old man took the brocade box with both hands and knelt down tremblingly, "Thank the gods for giving us a peaceful place." Xianxia took the brocade box with one hand and helped the old man up with the other. After such a long time, you can still maintain your original intention. With such a character, I helped you in the first place. What Xianxia said was true. Even without recovering her memory, she knew very well that when she helped them, She didn't want them to repay her with anything in return. However, the fact that they could be grateful for generations proved that she had not helped the wrong person. You must know that they have lived in Daowen realm for at least more than 10,000 years. Such a long time may only be a matter of a few generations for monks, but for those of them who cannot practice, it is already countless generations ago. Something happened. He should have done a good deed at the beginning, but they, a group of ordinary mortals, a group of people whom he thought he would never be able to borrow from, actually repaid him with so much power of faith. That is a power that you cannot cultivate no matter how talented you are. As long as we have descendants alive, we will not dare to forget the kindness of the gods. The old man stood up tremblingly, and the person holding the crutch beside him quickly handed the crutch to him, and then helped him stand firm. Such a natural and simple behavior of respecting the elderly was very gratifying to Yan Xiangluo. You guys wait a moment. Yan Xiangluo felt that she should get her memory back now so that she could know how to treat the people in Daowen world. Please, God. The old man raised his hand after saying this, and all the people in Ruyi village consciously stepped back to make room for Yan Xiangluo. The old man whispered to the young man next to him, and the young man quickly ran to the old man's room, brought out a chair and placed it next to Yan Xiangluo. The old man said, "God, please take a seat." Yan Xiangluo nodded, without being polite, and sat down on the chair, holding the brocade box in one hand, and her eyes fell on the brocade box. The brocade box was made of white jade and was not locked, but she knew that even if it was not locked, only she could open the brocade box, because she had already sensed the familiar aura on the brocade box, which was the aura of her own soul. This is a soul mark. No matter how strong you are, you cannot get the contents inside. If you forcefully open it, the contents inside will be destroyed. Yan Xiangluo gently placed her other hand on the lid of the brocade box and opened it easily. There are two light inside, one is white and the other is purple gold. As soon as the brocade box is opened, the two light float. The white light ball stops near her eyebrows, then flies into her eyebrows and enters her sea of consciousness. The purple gold ball of light landed on her dantian and penetrated into the golden cocoon in her dantian. The white ball of light was the memory of her previous life. Yan Xiangluo ignored the ball of light that penetrated the golden cocoon and closed her eyes to accept the memory of her previous life. In about a cup of tea, Yan Xiangluo finished receiving this part of the memory, and slowly opened his eyes. Yan Xiangluo finally had a partial understanding of himself in the previous life. At the same time, I also know that there is such a brocade box in every village in the Daowen world. Each brocade box contains a part of the memory of her previous life, and also a part of her previous life's power. And the first time she came to Ruyi village after entering Daowen realm was arranged by herself in the previous life. This memory contains all the information about Daowen world, and the Daowen world at this time is extremely clear in her mind. The 49 villages in Daowen realm listen to the order and send my things to Ruyi village as quickly as possible. Yan Xiangluo added spiritual power to spread her voice throughout the Daowen realm. The people in Ruyi village immediately knelt down again when they heard the sound that covered the entire Daowen realm. At this time, everyone in Daowen realm ran out of their homes in excitement. The fragrance falls ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 855. Did you hear that? I heard it, the gods are back. Yes, the immortal is finally back. Hurry to the ancestral hall to pick up the gods' things and send them to Ruyi village. The leaders of each village immediately took action, especially those far away, and came on horseback to get the brocade boxes. After all, they are ordinary people with no cultivation at all, and their fastest means of transportation is horseback riding. Yan Xiangluo also knew this. They were all ordinary people, and it would take a whole day to reach them from the farthest village. In fact, it would be faster for Yan Xiangluo to get it by herself, but in every village she goes to, I am afraid that like Ruyi village, she will have to experience countless blows from these people. The power of faith poured into her consciousness like a raging wave at this time. This power of faith came from the residents of the 49 villages in Daowen. It's good to just accept the power of their faith in this way. There is no need for them to kowtow to thank themselves over and over again. Although she knew that she had given them a quiet and peaceful place to live, it was a great kindness to them and should be remembered from generation to generation. But for her at that time, it was probably just a piece of cake. The person in charge of Ruyi village is the old man whom the little boy calls Grandpa. When the old man saw Yan Xiangluo and gave the order, he knew that Yan Xiangluo would stay in their village for at least 2 days. Gods, the yard next to the ancestral hall is prepared for the gods. No one has ever lived in it from generation to generation, people will clean it every day. The gods can rest there. Yan Xiangluo also knew that he couldn't just let the people from Ruyi village accompany him and stand at the entrance of the village waiting for those people to come. Okay, everyone, let's go back and rest, Yan Xiangluo said to the villagers in Ruyi village. All the villagers shook their heads like rattles. We want to stay with the gods for a little longer. Yan Xiangluo understood their mood. Except for the generation of their ancestors who had seen her, they had gone through countless generations before they saw themselves again in their generation. It was normal for them to be excited and unable to calm down. They wanted to stay with themselves for a while longer. She didn't say anything else, and walked together towards the yard next to the ancestral hall, neither fast nor slow, just as fast as the old man walked. The old man was very moved. It turned out to be the immortal who saved their ancestors from suffering. Even though he was reincarnated, he was still kind-hearted. She noticed such small things. When she arrived at the yard, the old man raised his hand and all the villagers stopped. Only the old man and the young man who had just gone to get her brocade box accompanied her in. Entering the yard, Yan Xiangluo found that it was just as the old man said. The yard was spotless and had been cleaned with great care. Various flowers were planted in the yard. The small yard was simple and warm. Yan Xiangluo said to the old and young people, "You don't need to accompany me. Go back and do whatever you need to do. Don't let my arrival affect your lives. Other villages can send brocade boxes and bring people here directly." The old man knew that Yan Xiangluo didn't like to be disturbed, so he immediately said, "Xianxia, he is my grandson, his name is Zikan. He will be guarding the courtyard gate. If the deity needs anything, just give him an order." Yan Xiangluo did not refuse. She really needed a messenger, and she couldn't use her spiritual power to shout every time. Zikan helped his grandfather leave, and then he stood guard outside the courtyard gate. This was an honor for them. Many young people looked at him with envy from a distance, wishing they could guard the door like this. The old man waved his hands to them, "Go back, don't disturb the gods." The person in charge spoke, and the villagers were very obedient and went home no matter how reluctant they were to leave. Yan Xiangluo walked into the main room, sat down directly on the chair in the main room, and then began to digest the memory she had just received. This is why she chose to have the heads of each village deliver the brocade boxes instead of picking them up herself. It is not a pleasant thing to have memories crammed into her head all at once. She needs time to sort out these memories. The light group that entered the cocoon in Danshan was the power left here in her previous life. She was too strong in her previous life, and it was only part of the power that had already made her nascent soul move. The light group she entered into the golden cocoon at the 9th turn was also the power of her previous life. Now there is more and more power and spiritual power in her Danshan, but due to the suppression of the Pangu flower blooming technique, she still cannot break through to the level. Therefore, Yuanying felt a little uncomfortable, as if he had eaten too much and was unable to digest the discomfort. Yu Xiangluo needs to stabilize her strength to make nascent soul feel more comfortable. Other brocade boxes will be delivered from the nearby villages in a while. There were only 7 days left, but half of it has passed today. She does not have so much time to spend on absorbing the memories and powers of her previous life. and she was worried that she wouldn't be able to absorb them all, but there were 49 in total. One that has made her so uncomfortable, no wonder her previous life left so many copies of her memories and strength behind. One is for safety, so that if something happens, everything will not be lost. The second is that I am not strong enough to accept all the memories and powers at once. Xianxia sat cross-legged, closed her eyes, sorted out her memories, and at the same time stabilized the strength in her dantian to make Yuanying feel better. She feels uncomfortable when the nascent soul is uncomfortable. The nascent soul is herself. There is no way, who makes their situation special. She doesn't know if other monks from lower continents have such a process, but she doesn't feel comfortable anyway. Fortunately, in about a quarter of an hour, the memory was sorted out, and nascent soul also calmed down. Yuxiang sighed in relief. Fortunately, it didn't take too much time. Otherwise, she would have been worried when she thought about how many memories and powers she had not yet absorbed. God, the manager of Changfu village has brought a brocade box, Zikan reported in a medium voice outside the courtyard gate. Grandpa told him not to report in a loud voice, just a normal voice. Gods are different from them and can hear it. Sure enough, as soon as he finished speaking, he heard Yanxiangluo's voice, "Bring people in." Zikan immediately opened the courtyard door and came in with the manager of Changfu village. The person in charge of Changfu village is a middle-aged man. He holds the brocade box in both hands, his head slightly lowered, and follows Zikan as he walks inside. Zikan gestured to the person in charge of Changfu village. The headmaster of Changfu village bows to the gods. The headmaster of Changfu village immediately knelt down and kowtowed. When he kowtowed, he held the brocade box in his hand high above his head, showing how respectful he was. Yanxiangluo glanced at the man kowtowing outside the door and sighed secretly. There was nothing he could do about this great gift. However, the names of this village are quite auspicious. Get up, Yanxiangluo quickly asked people to get up. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 856. The person in charge of Changfu village hurriedly got up and wondered whether he should deliver the brocade box himself or what to do. Yanxiangluo glanced at him, but everyone else had come in. She immediately said to Zikan, "Zikan, bring the brocade box in." Zikan was stunned for a moment, then happily took the brocade box from the head of Changfu village and put it in respectfully. The brocade box just now was delivered to the gods by Grandpa. This time it is his turn, and it seems that no matter which village comes from the brocade box, he will be the one who delivers it to the gods. This is an honor that no one has. Enough for him to brag for a lifetime. If you still remember this in the next life, you can continue to brag about it. Yanxiangluo took the brocade box and said to Zikan, "After that, each village will send brocade boxes. You can just bring the brocade boxes in and put them at the door of the hall. Arrange the people who will come and meet them together after I'm done." She doesn't want to meet them one by one, without wasting time, and she doesn't want to ask them to bow down one by one. If they want to bow down, just bow down together. Zikan felt even more happy when he heard this, which meant that he was the only one who could see the immortal before the immortal finished his work. Suddenly I felt a little buoyant. Yes, he responded quickly, and then led the person in charge of Changfu village out. The manager of Changfu village was also very lucky. Apart from the manager of Ruyi village, he was the only one who saw the gods alone. Zikan was naturally ignored by him. This is enough for him to brag for a lifetime. After giving the instructions, Yanxiangluo opened the brocade box sent by the head of Changfu village. There were still two light groups, the white one flew into the consciousness, and the purple gold one flew into the dantian. With this first experience, This time Yan Xiangloo directly began to receive and organize the memory, and at the same time helped nascent soul sort out its power. Although it is still uncomfortable, it is better than before. Before she finished tidying up, Zikan brought in a few more brocade boxes. Seeing Yuan Xiangloo sitting cross-legged on a chair with her eyes closed and not looking at him, Zikan brought a table and placed it outside the stewed lotus root in the main room. Put the brocade box on the table gently, and went out. Whenever someone brings a brocade box, he will arrange for the person to stay first, and then send the brocade box in so as not to disturb the fragrance. But he had seen it, and every time he came in, there would be a few fewer brocade boxes on the table. Yan Xiangloo put all the empty brocade boxes into her gift ring. These were all things from her previous life. Although she may not be able to use them anymore, she also knew that these were not ordinary white jade. There is absolutely no such thing as a higher continent. In this way, Yan Xiangloo has been receiving memories and strength, and Zikan keeps sending brocade boxes in, until the 49th brocade box is delivered. It is already the evening of the second day. Zikan saw that there were only a few brocade boxes on the table. After he left, he went to tell Grandpa Xiu to make preparations. The gods should be done soon. Then he returned to the courtyard gate and continued to guard it. At midnight, Yan Xiangloo finally accepted all the memories and power. The memory is okay. After sorting it out, it is her own memory, but the power entering the cocoon still has a great impact on Yuanying. Although she had tried her best to help nascent soul sort out its power, the power in the golden cocoon was about to explode, as if it was about to explode at any time. However, the spiritual roots did not move at all. Yan Xiangloo glanced at the sky. It was not easy to disturb the villagers at this hour, so she simply continued to study how to make nascent soul feel more comfortable. Thinking about the fact that she absorbed spiritual energy and practiced before, Yuanying didn't feel any discomfort, so why did she feel uncomfortable after the power of her previous life returned? Is it too much and too strong? After all, the Xuanhuan who entered the golden cocoon wrapping the nascent soul in the 9th round was also his own power. Coupled with the power in these 49 boxes, it was indeed too huge. She wondered, could she balance the power inside and outside the cocoon? Wouldn't it be so uncomfortable to balance the nascent soul? Yuanying is a potential self. There is a huge gap in power between the actual self and the potential self. That is why Yuanying is uncomfortable. Is this the reason? Whether it is, you will know after trying it. Yan Xiangloo closed her eyes and absorbed spiritual energy into her danshan. This was her normal practice method. The spiritual energy in the Daowen world is very rich, and there are no monks practicing here, so the spiritual energy has been cultivated for tens of thousands of years, and it is even richer than the spiritual energy in the first training place. As soon as the spiritual energy enters the body, it rushes towards the spiritual roots. This has never happened before. But Yan Xiangloo didn't stop her. The spiritual root is the foundation of her cultivation. The spiritual energy after cultivation must also feed the spiritual root. The stronger the spiritual root, the stronger her strength. Both she and nascent soul will ultimately rely on it. Spiritual roots. The spiritual energy poured into the danshan and went straight to the spiritual roots. Yan Xiangloo could clearly feel that the spiritual roots were shaking and absorbing the spiritual energy, and the spiritual energy that entered the spiritual roots was directly converted into spiritual power. The spiritual roots are visible to the naked eye. Yan Xiangloo discovered that the nascent soul would feel more comfortable as the spiritual roots grew longer. Sure enough, it was just as she thought. Yan Xiangloo's eyes lit up. At this time, the power in the cocoon wrapping Yuanying was about to explode. Does this mean that the power of Yuanying has actually reached the stage of awakening? Is it true that as long as she balances the power of the spiritual root with the power of the nascent soul, she will break through to the level, that is, when she breaks through the 3rd level of Pangu flower bloom? Yan Xianglou suddenly realized that a breakthrough seemed imminent. She finally knows how to judge whether she has reached the conditions for a breakthrough. Although time is very tight, Yan Xianglou is still very happy, at least she knows the direction of her efforts. She stopped thinking about anything else, closed her eyes, and quickly entered the realm. As soon as she entered the realm, the spiritual energy of the entire Daowen world surged into the courtyard where she was, and Zikan, who was guarding outside the courtyard gate, was forced to leave. The people from Ruyi village and the people in charge of the brocade boxes from other villages stood in the distance and looked at Yuan Xiangluo's yard. They don't know what happened, but they felt such a strong force even if they were not monks. Sure enough, gods are powerful. That was Yan Xianglou, whom they had never seen in her previous life. If they had seen her, they would know that she was truly powerful at that time. Yan Xianglou is very aware of the amount of spiritual energy she has absorbed. She is thinking that all the spiritual energy in Daowen world may be absorbed by her this time. Utopia may no longer exist. What will happen to the residents living here? Yu Xianglou is not unreasonable and does not care about the life and death of the villagers. Before practicing, she looked at the small world of her previous life that her two senior brothers sent back to her. It was definitely another Daowen world. It is much larger than the Daowen world, and it is more suitable for people to live in. It has richer species than the Daowen world and has a greater sense of happiness in life. The fragrance falls ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 857. Therefore, Yan Xianglou decided that after she absorbed the aura of Daowen world, she would take back Daowen world and let them live in the small world of her previous life. With some memories of her previous life, she knew that this Daowen world was part of her small world in her previous life, but it was separated by her in order to accommodate these people. And it is not troublesome to let these people enter her small world. As long as the small world is integrated, they will naturally follow in, and there is no need to move or anything. After the Daowen world merges with her small world, the lost spiritual energy will naturally be absorbed. The small world was replenished, and from now on, where the villagers lived, the spiritual energy would be the same as the spiritual energy in her small world. They live in such an environment. Although they are ordinary people, their longevity is much higher than that of ordinary mortals. Look at the person in charge of Ruyi village. He is over 100 years old and can still handle the affairs of the village. Hence, she was not lenient at all in absorbing the aura of the Daowen world. Although the villagers were confused, they were not uneasy at all, because their deep respect and trust in the gods made them have no doubt that the gods would be bad to them. In the early morning of the next day, Yan Xianglou quit her practice. The aura of the Daowen world had been absorbed by her. Although it still could not reach the balance of power with the cocoon that wrapped the Yuanying, it at least made the Yuanying feel much more comfortable. Uneasy, he fell into a deep sleep again. Yan Xianglou opened her eyes and looked at the already bright sky outside. Although it was a world separated from her previous life, it had normal 4 seasons, sunrises and sunsets. She stood up and walked out. At this time, Zikan was standing outside again. When there was no obstruction, he came over. Yan Xianglou saw Zikan as soon as she opened the courtyard door. Greetings to the gods. Zikan saluted immediately. Yan Xianglou looked at the villagers in the distance. Don't you have any rest? Zikan said with some embarrassment, I'm so excited that I can't sleep even when I go back. Except for the elderly and children, almost everyone is here. Zikan was telling the truth. His grandfather asked them all to go back to rest last night, but no one went back except the old man and the sleepy children. The old man and the children only went back one after another in the latter half of the night. I haven't slept for an hour yet. Yan Xianglou was very helpless. Mortals were different from monks. They would be very tired if they stayed up all night, which was not good for their health. Yan Xianglou looked at the number of people and said to Zikan, bring in 3 water tanks. Zikin didn't even ask her what she wanted the water tank for. He immediately ran away and arranged for people to bring 2 of his own water tanks, as well as a neighbor's water tank. As soon as Yan Xianglou raised her hand, the 3 water jars were filled with water from the spiritual spring. It's not that she is reluctant to let them drink the spiritual spring water directly, but that they are mortals and their bodies cannot withstand the power of the spiritual spring and will be burst by the force. If it is diluted and they drink it, it will be good for their bodies. Everyone come and drink water, 1 scoop per person. Don't drink too much. Your body won't be able to bear it, Yan Xianglou said to Zikin. Zikin's eyes lit up and he realized that the water given by the gods must not be ordinary water. He immediately went over to support his grandfather and then called everyone to come and line up to drink the water given by the gods. Each person took a ladle, and he couldn't bear to drink too much. All the villagers were very conscious and lined up naturally without fighting. No one wanted to rush forward or get to the front of the line. The first person to drink water was the director of Ruyi village. It was impossible for the old man to drink a gourd of water in one go. After all, he was old and the water was still cold. But after he took a sip, he felt that the water was as cold as it was like nectar. I actually drank up a whole ladle of water in one breath, and I still felt like I still had some unfinished thoughts. He felt that after drinking this gourd of water, his body became stronger and his waist, which was a little bent, straightened up. He has strength now, but the gourd from which he drinks water belongs to his own family. After he touches his lips, he can't give it to others to drink from. It's not polite. He turned to the villagers behind him and said, "Go home and fetch the water man, and then come and drink water." The villagers also realized that they couldn't have so many people drinking from one gourd, and immediately ran home to get pots and pots. The old man gave the water ladle to his grandson. "Zikin, you drink first, and then we will get water for everyone here." Then he ordered his son and his wife to go home and bring their own bowls and basins for use by the leaders from other villages. The leaders of each village thanked them. After all, they didn't have to bring their own food and water. Because the people in charge live closest to here, these people in charge drank the water before the villagers. Yan Xianglou didn't wait outside. "If there's not enough water, tell me." Then she motioned to the leaders of each village who had finished drinking the water to follow her into the yard. The old man left the outside affairs to his grandson Zikin, and took the officials into the yard. Yan Xianglou stood at the door of the hall. There were so many people in there, not to mention sitting down, and they couldn't even pretend to be there. Therefore, she was going to tell these people about her plan outside. Before she could speak, everyone knelt down and kowtowed, and the sounds of one after another rang out again. Yu Xianglou was helpless. After being beaten by them, she asked them all to get up. "I don't have much time, so I'll tell you briefly," Yan Xianglou said. "She has been here for 2 days, and there are only 5 days left in the 7 days. Time is really running out." She wanted to absorb as much spiritual energy as possible in the first place of training, so that her spiritual roots and the power in the cocoon could be balanced. Otherwise, after going out, there would be no place with such rich spiritual energy in Xuanhuan continent for her to absorb spiritual energy. "Please tell me, God," the old man said. Ruan Xianglou said, "The Daowen world where you live has been absorbed by me because of the spiritual energy. Although you can't practice and you can't do anything with the spiritual energy, the food nourished by the spiritual energy is all high-quality ingredients. Therefore, you are better than normal mortals, live longer, are healthier, and rarely get sick. Now that the spiritual energy has been absorbed by me, it will have an impact on your future life. Therefore, I will take Daowen world away, and you can still living here will not change your life, and the lost spiritual energy will be replenished in a few days, but the movement will be a bit loud and the shaking will be severe, so you don't have to be afraid." After hearing this, the chiefs of each village quickly thanked them. "Thank you very much for the gods' plans for us. They, a group of mortals, were of little help to the gods, but they made the gods take such trouble to accommodate them. No wonder their ancestors had made them swear an oath from generation to generation not to disrespect the gods, and to respect this throughout their lives. Now that she saw it with her own eyes, it is indeed worthy of their admiration. Xianxia nodded. Hasn't there been anyone among you who has awakened your spiritual roots in the past 10,000 years? The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 858. Xianxia was surprised by this. After all, the aura here is so rich and the living environment is so good. They have been nourished for thousands of years from generation to generation. How can they still be mortals? Why can't they practice? The old man explained on behalf of everyone, God, we don't have monks, so we don't know how to awaken spiritual roots, and we don't know if any of our descendants will have spiritual roots. Xianxia was stunned. She didn't expect it to be the reason. She had forgotten this. The awakening of spiritual roots requires the assistance of monks. The people living in Daowen world are all mortals, and there are no monks to help them awaken their spiritual roots, so even if they have spiritual roots, they cannot awaken. After thinking for a while, Xianxia made a decision. I still have something to do. In a few days, I will arrange for someone to test your spiritual roots. If someone awakens their spiritual roots, I will send them to study and practice. If I don't come within 10 days, then don't wait any longer. Xianxia made a promise. Looking at nothing else but the power of their devout faith, she should do something for them. As for whether their humanity can remain so pure after they can cultivate, it will depend on the test of time. But all this must be done before she can leave the first training place alive, so she gave a time, and the time to leave was only 5 days. Even if she could leave here alive, she might not be able to come here as soon as possible, so she gave a 10-day agreement was made. Everyone was shocked. The surprise came too suddenly. Their descendants actually had the opportunity to become monks? The sound of kneeling down and praying sounded again. They all ignored the 10-day deadline given by Xianxia. In their hearts, gods are omnipotent, and they would not even think about her having an accident. Xianxia was helpless and used her spiritual power to stop everyone and lift them up. Stop knocking. She felt that she was the same age as Zikin's grandfather. You all are ready, I will send you back, and I will take Peach Blossom Realm away in Xianxia. When you go back, tell the villagers immediately. Don't be afraid if there is any movement, Xianxia said to the other villagers. Yes, everyone responded in unison. After the explanation, Xianxia asked the leaders of each village to come forward and explain that they were from that village. Xianxia sent the people back with the teleportation of the mysterious pattern. She doesn't have much else, she just has a lot of elixirs and mysterious patterns. It doesn't matter if she doesn't have enough to engrave them. Others looked at the disappeared person in shock. The gods were really powerful. When the last person was sent away by Xianxia, only the head of Ruyi village and his grandson Zikin were left in the yard. Xianxia looked at the time and saw that there were still 2/4 of an hour before Qianxi. She said to Zichen, come here and let me see if you have spiritual roots. When Zikin heard this, he was overjoyed. The gods actually showed him whether he had spiritual roots now, which was obviously a reward for him in these 2 days. Zikin's legs were shaking with excitement. Just because they were mortals, they were so eager to become monks, and they also clearly understood the gap between mortals and monks. He walked up to Xianxia excitedly. Xianxia raised her hand, don't resist. Zikin immediately relaxed himself and allowed Xianxia's mental power to fall on him. Xianxia's spiritual power directly entered his danshan. When he saw a small bag in his danshan, his eyes lit up. Sure enough, people in the Daowen world had experienced thousands of years of pure spiritual energy and had spiritual roots. Before the spiritual root is awakened, it is just like a small bag in the danshan. The size is the same. If you want to know what your talent is, you can only know it after you have truly awakened the spiritual root. Yan Xianglue withdrew her mental power and said, Zi Chen has spiritual roots. Zikan's nervous heart suddenly became excited, jumping with excitement, and tears flowed out. Grandpa, I can become a monk. The person in charge of Ruyi village is over 100 years old. He has several sons and many grandsons. He even has more than a dozen great-grandchildren and 6 great-great-grandchildren. Zikan is the youngest son of his youngest son and also his youngest son. Grandsons and many great-grandchildren are older than Zikan. But Zikan was his favorite grandson, and he personally took him with him to teach him. Now that I know that my favorite grandson actually has the opportunity to become a monk, I am so excited that I can't even say a word, so I just keep saying yes. Yan Xianglue understood their mood, just like when her soul first came back and knew that she could practice in a fantasy world. She was in disbelief and excited at the same time. It takes time to awaken the spiritual roots. You have to wait for me to come back in a few days, Yu Xianglue said. It's good to know it first. You can calm down for a few days. When the time comes to awaken your spiritual roots, you can be calmer. This will only be good for awakening your spiritual roots. Yes, thank you God. Zikan was still very excited. Yan Xianglue sighed, if I don't come in 10 days, I will never come. The grandfather and grandson were stunned for a moment, and then asked in unison, has something happened to the gods? Yan Xianglue nodded, you don't need to tell others now. If I don't come in 10 days, just tell them. The excitement of the grandfather and grandson was instantly wiped away, and they were both worried about Yu Xianglue. Yan Xianglue smiled, the journey of cultivation will not be smooth sailing. Life and death often accompany each other. This is normal. Yu Xianglue walked into the main room, took out a pen and paper, and started writing at his desk. After a moment, she put a few pages of paper and a book of cultivation techniques into a brocade box, sealed it with her spiritual consciousness, and handed it to the person in charge of Ruyi village. This is a way to self-awaken spiritual roots, but it is very dangerous. If it fails, you will die directly. I sealed it with my spiritual consciousness. If I don't come after 10 days, the spiritual seal on it will disappear, and you will make your own decision. This is what Yan Xianglue can do for them, in case they also have the opportunity to awaken their spiritual roots and become monks. Even if they cannot leave her small world, they can still get out of the small world if they meet the master again or if someone among them can cultivate to a powerful level in public. Yan Xianglue actually didn't realize it herself. She was unknowingly influenced by Jizhong, and she was used to being completely prepared for things. The head of Ruyi village took it with trembling hands. The grandfather and grandson knelt down and kowtowed to Yan Xianglue. On behalf of the residents of the Daowen community, our grandfather and grandson would like to thank the gods for their great kindness. Yan Xianglue raised her hand and used her spiritual power to help them up. The time is coming. You also go and inform the villagers in Ruyi village to get ready. I am going to take away the peach blossom world. The grandfather and grandson wiped away the tears of excitement on their faces and hurriedly thanked Yan Xianglue again. Then Zikan supported his grandfather and went out to inform the villagers. Yan Xianglue watched her grandfather and grandson go out, and her spiritual consciousness entered the portable space, preparing to merge the peach blossom world with the small world space of her previous life. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 859. The reason why I didn't tell them that I wanted to integrate the Daowen world with my own personal space was because I didn't want to change their lives too much. Even after they were integrated, She didn't want to expand their territory, nor did she want them to expand their territory in her own personal space. She didn't want to ruin their peaceful life. Although she knew that their lives would be changed as soon as they became monks, she still hoped that people without spiritual roots could happily live their ordinary but happy lives. Although the portable space in her previous life was also a small world, it was still different from the Pangu space, but it was more like a world of flesh and blood. Yan Xianglao looked around her personal space. Because she had some memories of her previous life, she knew how to integrate the Daowen world. Daowen world was originally a part of the space she carried with her in her previous life, and it was not difficult to integrate it back. Seeing that the time was up, Yan Xianglao walked out of the yard, and the villagers all came out of their homes. Because they knew there would be a tremor and were worried that some people's houses were not strong, they gathered people in an open place. Although Yan Xianglao knew that the fusion would not damage anything, she still did not stop them. She will not interfere with how they live and do things. Such a situation occurs in various villages in Daowen. Yan Xianglao released her mental power, and the 49 brocade boxes she threw into the storage ring flew out and lined up in the air. Each brocade box has an invisible thread that connects to a certain part of the Daowen world. They are the parts of the Daowen world that connect to her personal space. Originally, she wanted to keep them for use. Yan Xianglao controlled these brocade boxes with her mental power, and silently shouted in her heart, "Take them." As expected, the entire Daowen world began to shake. Immediately, the Daowen world disappeared, and Yan Xianglao's portable space also shook. When Yan Xianglao looked in again, sure enough, the Daowen world became part of the portable space. Now when I look at the portable space, I realize that there seems to be a part of the space missing. Yan Xianglao raised her eyebrows. How many parts did she divide her personal space into in her previous life? Where is the rest of the space? It's a pity that the memory she recovered does not relate to this aspect. It seems that it will take a chance to get it back. Looking at the villagers in Daowenjia, they were all calm. Zikan ran into the yard and did not see Yan Xianglao. He knew that she had left, so he said to everyone, "The immortal is gone." The person in charge of Ruyi village told everyone, "It's okay to be normal. When the gods send people, you should treat it with a normal heart. If it is, it's lucky, if it's not, it's lucky. Just live how you want to live." After hearing what the person in charge said, all the villagers made it clear and went back to their homes. Yan Xianglao heard what the manager of Ruyi village said to the villagers, and saw the manager put the box he gave him into the ancestral hall. Withdrawn his consciousness and thought to himself, "I hope these people can always maintain their original intention." The Daowen world is gone, and Yan Xianglao has returned to the center. Yan Xianglao looked around. This was the place before she entered the Daowen world. In front of her is the aperture arched door she saw. Is she going to enter again and go there this time? Will it be the center of a central place? Yan Xianglao walked directly into the aperture without hesitation. There are only 5 days left, time is really running out. Especially with some memories of past lives, it is necessary to go to the center of the central place. Just when Yan Xianglao stepped into the circle of light again, the other side of the demon world, the place of first training, was also experiencing the test of life and death. But the test is only for demon cultivators. Those real demons in the center are like entering their own back garden. They all know how to avoid all tests and dangers. Almost always go straight to the destination. The only exception is Xianxia. Xianxia knew that her cultivation strength was the lowest among all the demons. She had not seen any demon with a lower cultivation level than her these days, so she couldn't deny this. Therefore, if you want to survive in the hands of these demons, the only way is to avoid them. When a demon sees a demon cultivator and a demon, he can tell which one is the demon cultivator and which one is a demon without any effort. This is the instinct of the demon. Their aura is too special. However, if the demon cultivator is not strong enough, it is impossible to distinguish between demons and demon cultivators. The demons come here for a purpose. The demons who can enter here are all above the level. They are not afraid of one person, but they still dare not provoke many people. Xianxia could avoid the devil before coming to the central place, but there was no way to completely avoid it after entering the central place. Therefore, she used the face-changing mysterious pattern to hide her demonic appearance, pretending to be a demonic cultivator, and mixed with a group of demonic cultivators. In this way, even if a demon discovered her, she would be afraid of too many demonic cultivators. Her cultivation level was too low and he gave up on dealing with her. Although it was slower, Xianxia followed this group of demon cultivators to the place closest to the center of the central place. At this point, she could feel the call of the devil's power, just like a dog who had been hungry for many days suddenly saw a large bone with meat and wanted to pounce on it and bite off a large piece of it. But she did not dare to leave these demon cultivators, because once she left, it would be her death. Because there were too many demons coming here, and she didn't know how to get in. Xianxia really didn't expect that there were so many demons. And they have so many demons, but they only have one piece of cake. It would be extremely difficult for her, the weakest person, to eat the cake. At this time, they were resting, or to be precise, discussing what to do next. Several people in their group who are highly cultivated and have the final say are currently discussing. This is the entrance to the center. How do you get in? None of us have been here before, or should we partner with other groups? Someone suggested. Several people were a little moved after hearing this. This is the most labor-saving and time-saving method. They looked around to find their target. There were many people like them who were together, but how could they find an experienced group? After hearing what they said, Xianxia's eyes flashed with a dark light. This was indeed a way. It would be easier to succeed by joining forces with stronger people. She has discovered a long time ago that their group has reached its limit if they don't cooperate with other groups. This is what she was worried about just now. Many demons have already entered, and the later they enter, the slimmer their chances. Now that they have taken the initiative to find partners, Xianxia is naturally happy to see the success and wants to help them. Xianxia had already done some research and knew that some of the people in the group had been here. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 860. She was very anxious when she saw that another demon had entered. Therefore, she did not bother to cover up other things, and said to the most influential people in the group on the right with only 6 people, some of them have been here before. How do you know? Several people looked at her and asked, sizing her up. These days, Xianxia has been very low-key, and her true nature has been well hidden. She has a low sense of presence in this group of people. If she suddenly makes a sound, it will always make people think too much. We came from their side just now. I heard them ask one of them how you got in the last time you came here, Xianxia said calmly. What a joke. Just one look wanted to scare her. She, Xianxia, came from a crowd of men. She knew men too well. Seeing how calm she was, the man retracted his gaze and said to the others, let's go over and take a look. Xianxia knew that they had used this method to determine whether anyone among them knew how to get in. If anyone really knew, they would discuss the partnership directly. No matter how anxious you are, you can only wait. Fortunately, she was not kept waiting for too long. In about a quarter of an hour, a few people came back and said to them, they agreed to partner with us. They know how to get in, but they are not strong enough. The only requirement is that they all take an oath. Do you agree that you can't attack each other when you go in? What they didn't say was that the other party said that even if they had a way to get in, they wouldn't be able to get in with so many people. Someone from the two groups would definitely be unable to get in. They don't want to delay their entry because of this matter. After all, they won't be unable to enter even those who can't. Everyone agrees. There is no way. Obviously a few people agree. If they don't agree, they will be excluded and they will not be able to enter. Besides, such an oath protects each other, and there is no reason for them to disagree. Qin Suiyu understood that everyone was anxious to get in, and it was normal to discuss it so quickly. The two groups formed one, and after they all made an oath, they walked toward the entrance. Others who couldn't think of a way looked at them, wondering how they got in and whether they could learn from it. Qin Suiyu walked at the back, not because she didn't want to go in front, but because she was not qualified to go. She hid her identity as a demon and could not use the power of the demon. Therefore, she was the weakest among these people and could only walk at the end. Now she hates the word weakest to death. Looking at the person in front of him, his eyes flashed with a cold light, and soon he no longer had to hide himself. As long as you go in, you won't need them. Everyone in the back listen to my order. I ask you to stand in that position and you stand in that position. If I ask you to input magic power, you input magic power. If the aperture appears, all stand in. The time is very short and you must move quickly. You must not. Those who came in time should not blame me. The man who came in said to everyone. If he hadn't failed to get in like this last time, he wouldn't have wanted to partner with these people. After everyone responded, the man began to arrange people, one person at a time. After a while, he shouted, "Input spiritual power." Everyone standing at his designated position quickly input their spiritual power. Qin Suiyu was the one who didn't need to contribute, but after listening to the man's words, she understood that so many people might not be able to get in, so she stared at them closely, saw the aperture appear, and rushed in instantly. There are too many of them, and the aperture is not that big, so some people can't get in. Those who enter, if they are not strong enough, will be squeezed out. She is the weakest person who comes in behind and wants to squeeze out first. She is the first target. Qin Suiyu looked with cold eyes at the people who wanted to squeeze her out, but no matter how hard they squeezed her, she remained motionless. What a joke! She is the weakest among the demons, but the strongest among these monks. She just wants to take advantage of their large number of people to avoid the demons and use the light to get in. Is it possible for a monk to bully her? The people behind were stunned. Qin Suiyu's cultivation level was the lowest among them, so why wasn't she squeezed out? And why her eyes are so scary, as cold as if she came out of hell. At this moment, the aperture disappeared, and the people in the aperture also disappeared. Those who didn't squeeze in were stunned, and then collapsed. They might not have a chance to get in this time. At the same time, they were still wondering how Qin Suiyu managed to avoid being squeezed out by them. They didn't know that the most fortunate thing at this time was that Qin Suiyu had sworn not to do anything to them. Otherwise, it wouldn't be as simple as not being able to go in. I'm afraid their lives would be lost. At this time, Qin Suiyu had already followed everyone in. Is this the center of the central land? Someone asked suspiciously. Qin Suiyu ignored them and ran away in the direction of the demonic power she sensed, disappearing in the blink of an eye. She came in too late. If she didn't go quickly, she would really have no chance. The price would be that the real demon would take back her power and she would disappear. No one could react. Qin Suiyu had disappeared. Isn't she the lowest in cultivation? Why is she so strong? The people who were with her were confused and asked the people next to her who were also in the same group before. To be honest, they didn't expect Qin Suiyu to actually come in. After all, they knew very well that there were several people who couldn't get in, and Qin Suiyu was one of the people who couldn't get in. Yes, her cultivation level is the lowest. I didn't pay much attention to her before. I didn't expect that she is the one who hides the most deeply, someone said with emotion. At this time, everyone knew that Qin Suiyu had hidden her cultivation before. Although they were very angry at being used by Qin Suiyu in this way, they did not do anything that violated their agreement. If they were not angry, there was nothing they could do. Everyone was gone, so they could still how about it? See, she went in that direction without hesitation. Does she know something? Someone looked at the direction where Xianxia disappeared and asked. Everyone was silent when they heard this. The center of the central land was very different from what they imagined. It was desolate, as if no one had set foot in it for tens of thousands of years. After a while, someone said, "We are running out of time, and we don't have any good options. I have decided to go in that direction, and you can do whatever you want." After finishing speaking, the man walked towards the direction where Xianxia disappeared. The rest of the people looked at each other, and felt that there was no better way now. After all, time was really running out. They thought that if they came in, their own opportunities would appear, but now it seems that it is not that time. It all depends on chance. They all walked in that direction. At this time, demons like Xianxia were rushing to the same place.